All right, this feels like a playoff game, and especially in Houston because they're playing it on Saturday afternoon. This is the Texans dojo. You got a playoff quality game, and it's on a Saturday afternoon. That's where they always slot the Texans playoff games. And the Texans, I would say they're revisiting the scene of the crime, but last year Justin Herbert had one of the worst games of his career, one of the worst playoff performances by a quarterback in Chargers history. Just saying a lot with Chargers histories, but like Justin Herbert, he had a rough day. He had 4 interceptions, career low 43.8 completion percentage, the 4 interceptions, and after only throwing 3 interceptions throughout the entire regular season, it was a disappointment to say the least. And it was one that it just kind of left him reeling in the offseason and a lot to reflect upon. But you would think at least he comes back and he's got that awesome offensive line in 2025, right? No! It's been awful. He's got a horrible, horrible offensive line, and yet somehow he's managed to put together some really impressive performances, doing more with less. But he was asked about what he thought about last year's performance and whether he thought about it during the offseason at all.
No one felt worse than I did after that game, and I think it's important to continue to move forward and realize that it's what happened, and it would be crazy of me to deny the truth of what happened and to live in this reality where if I tried to block it out, I don't think that's doing any good. And so I think just moving on and understanding what it was, and just attack the next game like you've always prepared for.
It sounds like he needed an ayahuasca retreat for that. And I feel bad for the guy because he's been gutsy as hell, playing with a broken hand these last few weeks in his non-throwing hand, and an elbow injury to boot. Like at times last week, it looked like it was hard for him to even bend it. But he's scrapped together some performances largely through his mobility, like his ability to evade pressure and still make throws on the run. In the case of the Texans, where you worry about a guy like that, is his ability to scramble up through the middle of the pocket or make a throw as he's approaching the line of scrimmage. That's something that's bothered the Texans this year. The best performance they had against the quarterback like that was Josh Allen. They sacked him 8 times. They used a spy at times. I think you're going to see a lot of those same strategies. The one big difference, I think, that maybe gets underappreciated is that offensive line for the Chargers is really bad in pass protection, but they've been able to run reasonably well. And they don't do it. I don't know where they even rank necessarily, but they've got a respectable rushing attack. And when they can get to 3rd and 5, they can convert those. It's when it's 3rd and long that it's a real struggle. So I think one concern a lot of people have after last week, when Ashton Genty has really his best performance of his pro career versus the number 1 defense in the league, the Texans. All right, what's up with the Texans' rush defense? There's a couple things that are major. One of them is still a concern. The other one, I think, is going to be a lot better this week. The big concern is the defensive tackles. The thing that I'm excited about or happy about is the return of Azeez Elshire. There was one play from last week that I think kind of exemplified a lot of the issues that the Texans are having or that they had in the run last week. So here the Raiders have 3 tight ends in the game, and the Texans are in nickel, which they were the entire game. So that just means you've got 2 linebackers, 5 defensive backs. For the most part, other than the packages where they brought in 5 defensive linemen, they had to play just with 2 linebackers because I think it's a combination of them not trusting Christian Harris and then perhaps just however they felt their best matchup was. They only had 2 linebackers in the game, E.J. Speed and Henry To'oTo'o. So on this play in particular, they've got 3 tight ends in the game, and you can see you get bigger bodies on smaller bodies. Kalen Bullock, not quite box safety. And then because of the defensive tackle injuries, you've had to play replacements or you move Danico Autry down inside, which you can do. And especially versus the pass, I like it. But on this particular play, you can see he's just not a big body guy that can anchor. So you get a combination of multiple defensive backs on the field and defensive tackles getting displaced. I'm not picking on Danico Autry at all. This just isn't his dojo. And that's when you saw some of the longer runs. The long run at the end of the game, They were nickel. Again, you don't have Azeez Elshire out there. So without the combination of Azeez Elshire on the field with Henry To'oTo'o and EJ Speed, they can't play their base 4-3 defense. They hopefully, because Azeez Elshire is full go this week, that won't be as much of a concern. On the offensive side of the ball for the Texans and the Chargers are in the same boat. They've got really good young quarterbacks who are struggling to deal with other personnel issues, and the Texans' offensive line is better than the Chargers' offensive line. They've improved a lot, but he's still working through that. This week, the big concern is the fact that Trent Brown, the right tackle, is definitely out. Ariante Ursary, he's broken hand brothers with Justin Herbert because he just had a plate inserted into his hand this week, and he's questionable for the game. There's a chance he might play. At the very least, we're going to see Jarrett Patterson at left guard, and we're going to see Titus Howard at right tackle. That's almost definitely what you're going to see. And then Blake Fisher at left tackle if Ariante Ursary doesn't go. If Ariante Ursary does play, he's going to be facing a very good defense and a very good pass rush. The two bigger names, I mean, they've got multiple guys who can rush the passer, but Khalil Mack doesn't have a boatload of sacks. Wrong video here. Hold on a second. Let's go.
I never realized the Chargers got a bye.
Oh, we'll play that later. These are the Herbert interceptions. Let's go with Khalil Mack. There we go. Khalil Mack. Old man Mack still getting it done. I had to watch that video a few times. The defensive line for the Chargers, they do a good job, much like the Texans, of contained pass rushing. So you'll see a lot of sacks here where, boy, this one, Aaron Rodgers just does him a favor and goes on his own volition into the end zone. They do a good job of rushing with discipline. So a lot of times they'll have their outside linebackers rushing down inside, multiple pass rushers on the field, and they can get you with the games. They don't have to blitz all that much. They get it done up front and play zone behind. So they're very similar to the Texans in a lot of regards, the Texans defense. Tui Peloto is the guy that I've fallen in love with this week watching him because there he's introducing Jackson Dart to the medical tent for the first time in his career, a place he would visit many, many times. But you can see how strong he is. And can he rush inside? Yes, he can rush inside. That would be Jarrett Patterson in our scenario. Just has multiple moves. You can see some of these plays where you'd worry about Ariante Ursary if he's playing with a cast in his hand. Gets one out from the right tackle there. Let's see, from the outside again. These guys are good. These guys are very good at rushing the passer. The run game, I think if we're looking at differences between this year's game and last year's game, Joe Mixon is an obviously big difference in this game. And Woody Marks being full go, I feel good about that because I'm excited about Jawar Jordan. I think there were a couple times in last week's game where Jawar Jordan got snuffed out just shy of the sticks, where Woody Marks has shown that ability to grind through and get extra yardage with bodies on top of him, even though he's not that big of a guy. Hopefully, between the combination of having Nick Chubb, Woody Marks, Jawar Jordan, Agumbawale when they want to use them, they can scrap together a reasonable rushing attack. With the Chargers offense in their rushing attack, you might ask, okay, well, how do they run the ball despite not having a good offensive line? They do a really good job of mixing things up. They use multiple different personnel groups. I believe I saw a stat that they use more, a greater variety of personnel groupings than any other team in the league. And then they'll use pulling guards, traps, like everything they can to try to get angles on guys, and they do a good job of it. So the defensive tackle rotation is going to be something to watch this week. Those guys will have it a little bit easier with Azeez Elshire behind them, but this is really going to be a battle of like a couple of the best pass rushers in the league on both teams. So four really good pass rushers going against potentially 4 backup offensive linemen or 3 backup offensive linemen and 1 that's got a broken hand. And I think that's going to be the sum total of the day, is who handles that challenge the best. Herbert's thrown a lot more interceptions this year after being very careful with the football. The thing that breaks ultimately, I think, in this game is the ability take the ball away. And I think the Texans, even though they're on the road, have an advantage in that regard. So I think the Texans end up winning this game. They're 1.5-point underdogs. I know that, let's see. I think, I know last week a lot of people were telling me my mic's not on. Okay, my mic's on. Is it my crappy mic? Oh, it's a crappy mic. All right, well, we'll take the L on that one. Looking forward to this one, though, despite my crappy microphone.